Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show on television. Here on The Point of View, we get the right guests, ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you. And of course, welcome to our Heritage Month as well. It's a month where we celebrate everything in Ghana. And we hope you have a great time with all our programs on City TV. Tonight, we have a big show for you. On the 25th of February, which is a few days ago, the Judicial Service caused their lawyers to issue a statement to all media houses titled Incendiary, Hateful and Offensive Statements Against Members of the Judiciary. We'll be breaking the statement down, speaking to the media fraternity and the lawyer who wrote this statement about why the statement was written, can we construe this as a threat to media freedom, and all of those. We'll also spend a few minutes looking at the latest with the vetting. We've been told that the NDC has decided that some people should not be passed. They held a meeting earlier in the day. We'll bring you the latest on that. But when we come back, we'll jump straight into this conversation. Stay with us.
This looks different.
It is. See for yourself.
Okay, so it's a photo.
Look closer. Photos within photos.
What about video?
8K video. Beyond cinema quality.
So...
You can pull portrait quality photos straight from video.
But will it last the whole trip?
Battery for the whole trip and the way back.
This is different.
Told you.
Good Day Energy Drink keeps you going. Available in major supermarkets and shops near you. Excessive drinking can be detrimental to your health. Not recommended for persons under 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and people sensitive to caffeine. This advert is FDA approved.
So welcome back. So the Judicial Service caused their lawyers to write a statement to the media dated February 25. I'm going to put portions of the letter on the screen just for you to appreciate. So basically it's titled Incendiary, Hateful and Offensive Statements Against Members of the Judiciary. And I'm going to go through some of the paragraphs. It's 17 paragraphs. Paragraph 1 says, we write as solicitors for and on behalf of the Judicial Service of Ghana, simply referred to hereinafter as client, and upon whose instructions we write to you this letter. We've been instructed by our client to communicate to you, and we hereby do, its concern regarding the lack of discretion and responsibility on part of some media houses in Ghana. Our client's concern arises from the publication and or permitting the publication of a series of incendiary, hateful and offensive statements and speeches on their various platforms against our client's justices. This concern has been heightened by the flurry of statements and speeches directed at our client's justices, especially after the commencement of the hearing of the election petition in the suit, and they give the title. The fact that these statements and speeches directly mention some of the justices hearing the petition apart, a number of your publications directly insinuate that the decisions of the justices presiding over the matter are motivated by factors outside legal principles and proper judicial consideration. The focus of the statements and speeches, therefore, patently insinuate that the decisions are motivated by matters unrelated to the rules and principles in accordance with which justice is delivered, but are motivated by corrupt factors and devoid of any legal justification and reasoning. Now, let me go to paragraph 8. Our client has instructed us to inform you, and this is the general media, and we hereby do, that publication of this kind published on your platforms are dangerous to the Ghanaian society and our democracy as a whole, not only because they obviously sow in the minds of the unsuspecting members of the public false notions that the justice system is a sham and should not be trusted, but actually provides a foundation for lawlessness, as it clearly suggests to Ghanaians that they should no longer have confidence in the judicial system, with the following implications being obvious from such statements and speeches. Then they give 4 extra paragraphs that I'll put on the screen for you to see. They say, for example, the statements threaten our constitutional order, they interfere with the due administration of justice, because justices are threatened with ominous consequences following their decisions, which do not meet the expectations of some of the members of society. The statements and speeches bring the administration of justice into disrepute, as unsuspecting Ghanaians are being deliberately misinformed and manipulated. They also make it clear to us that speeches that incite hate, anger, and passion against justices will not be tolerated. It's a long statement. It ends by demanding in paragraph 14 that, as most responsible media institutions now do regarding incendiary and spiteful publications, media houses should immediately, 1, pull or cause to be pulled down and cleared from their platforms all statements and speeches which convey or insinuate hateful, spiteful, vengeful, and incendiary communication. 2, prevent the publication of such statements and speeches on their platforms. And 3, exercise the highest level of discernment, discretion, and responsibility in as far as publication of statements and speeches regarding this is concerned. Then they have a couple of other things. Let me start by speaking to Suleiman Brima, who is the Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa. Sule, thank you for joining us. Good evening.
Thank you for having me, Bernard. Good evening.
So I know that GJ has issued a statement, and I believe the Media Foundation has also expressed some concern. Why are you so worried about the letter written on behalf of the Judicial Service?
Well, Bernard, I think that it is not out of place for any institution to write to the media to express any concerns about what such an institution deems to be inappropriate. However, if such a letter goes to the point of attempting to direct the media or attempting to tell the media what it should do and what it shouldn't do, then certainly such an institution or such an individual may be going beyond, the limits. Just as the letter requires us to act in ways, and as I'm referring to the media, to act in ways that, strengthens our democracy and our constitutional order, we would also expect that such actions from individuals and institutions must also be in ways that advances the provisions of our constitution as far as media freedom and independence of the media are concerned. I think as you read the document, it is not just a friendly letter to the media. And I must also say that since the commencement of the ongoing petition, one person has been cited for contempt and has had to purge himself of contempt. And as you and I know, that person was not a journalist or is not a journalist. That person is somebody who understands the law quite well. And so at this stage, I believe if there is any blame at all in terms of people thinking that there are commentaries that indicts the judiciary and paints the justices in a bad light, perhaps we should be pointing to the legal fraternity rather than the media. And I think that is born out of the fact that in this 17 paragraph document, there's no single illustration, no single paragraph that gives an example of what is considered to be hateful, incendiary, spiteful, and so on, as they try to communicate. That is not to say the media or journalists are perfect. We do make mistakes sometimes, and that is why the Constitution also makes provision that as and when we do make mistakes and there are rejoinders sent to us, we are under obligation to publish such rejoinders. I think we wouldn't have had a problem if this was something pointing the media to specific comments or publications and demand of a rejoinder is being made.
So the impression we get is that there's a general letter to the media because a lot of the media is misconducting itself, presumably. Now, what is the threat in this, though? Because some will say this is advice about future conduct, in addition to saying that some people have done certain things and they should purge themselves of it. Can you elaborate? Because in reading the GJ statement, I get the sense that the media fraternity feels that this is an attack and a threat, albeit veiled, to the work they do.
No, quite clearly, if you look at paragraph 14.1, a demand is made, and that's where the threat is, that media houses are being told to go onto their platforms and delete or cause to be deleted and actually clear whatever comments, statements or expressions that in the view of the lawyers who wrote the letter are incendiary, spiteful, hateful, and so on and so forth, without, as I said, providing any illustration. So what do they expect the media fraternity to do? That you go on citynewsroom.com and start looking at content that has been published over the last 30 or 40 days in relation to the Supreme Court hearing, and then you look at specific words and decide which of these words could be misconstrued or could be taken to insinuate hatred or disrespect to the justices. I think really that is where the threat is, and that is where the attempt to impose some level of censorship on the media, which is, something that the Constitution forbids. That is where we find it. And I believe that the GJA statement that was issued, which I fully endorse, is particularly in relation to paragraph 14.1 and the kind of demand that is being made there, which is not just a demand, but actually a threat. And it ends by saying that if what they are saying is not done, some appropriate actions will be taken against the media.
Some people say that each time people warn journalists about their work, they start crying media freedom, and attack against press freedom. But the very Constitution that guarantees press freedom and abhors censorship of the media also has certain caveats. And indeed, there are portions that also urge the media to perform their role, at least our ethics do so, within a certain framework of ethics and professionalism. So how do you convince skeptical members of the public that the position taken by the media groups is not another example of crying wolf?
No, absolutely. And no one would say that media freedom or freedom of expression as provided for in the Constitution is absolute. I think that whatever actions we are taking must be in line, as the Constitution says, what is permitted within, a democratic order. And I believe that if any establishment or any profession were to say, because freedoms are guaranteed within the Constitution, we do as we please, I believe that there will be constitutional chaos. So yes, there are limitations. But you look at what is being requested, that we go back to our platforms. And before I go on to that, as I did say earlier, that is exactly and precisely why the Constitution says in relation to media freedoms that as and when something is said, published, or authored about an individual or an institution, that individual or institution has the liberty to seek a rejoinder. And when a rejoinder is submitted to the organization that published it, the organization is obliged to ensure that their views are heard. I don't think that anybody would have been crying wolf if the Judicial Service had said, look, on this date or that date, City FM or City TV or City Newsroom published this particular story, which we think undermine our judiciary, and therefore we are demanding a retraction and an apology. Perhaps we would have been debating about whether or not what they are demanding is right or not. But otherwise, yes, media freedom is not absolute. We are all supposed to abide by the other rules and principles. Of course, as they say, where your freedoms begins or ends, somebody's freedom begins. And so the whole thing is to just bring a generic letter, accuse literally every media of not doing their work well, and demanding that people go back and delete, comments that have been posted and so on and so forth. And as I said, Bernard, I am surprised that the Judicial Service is not cautioning lawyers, is not asking lawyers to go back onto media platforms and retract and apologize or take down whatever they have done, because the example currently, the illustration we have is that it's not a journalist who has been cited for contempt. It is a lawyer, a senior lawyer who was cited or who has been cited for contempt. So to that extent, I really don't see the basis. And to the extent that no examples are provided, no indications, no illustrations. I really think that it is a case of, look, let's caution the media, let's intimidate them ahead of maybe the ruling this week so that people will not go overboard. Other than that, I really don't see what the basis of the letter is.
Thank you, Suleiman Brima. I appreciate that. He is the Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa. When we come back, I have on the line Thaddeus Sory. Thaddeus Sory is the Managing Partner and lawyer with Sory at Law. In fact, he authored the statement that we are discussing, the controversial statement. He'll be speaking to us to justify why this statement is necessary and explaining why it's not a threat to media freedom. Stay with us.
Life can get a little pricey out there. The passing pleasure of a restaurant meal, or those sports magazines you never really finish. But what if that lasted a lot longer? Well, with GoTV it can. Because with a whole range of different package options to choose from, you can get a whole month's worth of moments for both you and your family at a price you can afford.
This is gonna be great.
GoTV, love it.
This looks different.
It is. See for yourself.
Okay, so it's a photo.
Look closer. Photos within photos.
What about video?
8K video. Beyond cinema quality.
So,
You can pull portrait quality photos straight from video.
but will it last the whole trip?
Battery for the whole trip and the way back.
This is different.
Told you.
We have on the line lawyer and managing partner for Sory at Law, Thaddeus Sory Esquire, to give us some quick thoughts on this statement that I just read, which, of course, he did on behalf of his client. Counsel, thank you for joining us on the point of view. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Just to be clear, who is your client in this matter? Is it a judicial service or the judiciary?
I said clearly in the statement you have that it is the judicial service.
So the reason I ask is that I know that the Chief Justice and the justices have made statements in open court about media coverage already. So I was a bit surprised to see a statement sort of on the coverage of the proceedings when they've made it clear on more than one occasion in open court their feelings about some aspects of the coverage.
So what is surprising? If they have said and it is repeated, what is surprising about it?
Well, because in the statement they made in court, they were specific. And in fact, you know that they called out at least one lawyer for a statement he made to the media. So why are they asking you to write to all media houses?
If you say why, my answer, if you say why, my first answer is why not? But let me put it in context. If the publications and the statements, the subject matter of the letter have started and they are gaining currency, the statement makes it clear that there are a number of them and it is increasing by day. So it is important to issue a general statement and inform everybody that the standard of comments and statements and speeches that are allowed within the context of judicial administration should be kept within the limits that the law allows. What is wrong with that?
Well, when you notice, or when they noticed that some lawyers were granting interviews that were not in line with the ethics, they called out those lawyers and cited one for contempt. They didn't write to the Ghana Bar Association. They didn't write to all lawyers. So why are they saying that it's on media houses to promote what they consider offensive? Why don't they write to those media houses? Why are they writing to all media houses?
Bernard, I have explained this to you. That is just argumentative. If you say why, and I say why not? The point I have made to you already is simple. That what is wrong with telling the media houses that watch out for these type of statements which are appearing on some media platforms. Be careful that you don't get beyond that line. Let us stick within the professional exercise of your right to free speech, which a lot of you are doing. If you are reminded of it, what does this work?
If it was only a reminder, it wouldn't be a problem. But you go ahead to make categorical accusations, and then you go on to then issue what many consider a veiled threat to media houses in how they do their job. So if the letter was just what you just said to me, I don't think I would even be talking to you on this show, because that would have been.
And you see, I like Bernard, and I'm taking people on this type of statement. If it were just so, and it's not categorical and all of that, you have read the letter. What is categorical about it, and what is a veiled threat in it? What is contained there clearly starts from the premises that there are hateful statements being made on some platforms, and there are so many media institutions. What you need to remind each and every person, every institution generally, is that these hateful comments are not allowed. These hateful comments within the context of the exercise of the right to free speech is not allowed. If you are reminding people generally of that, and that's exactly what the letter does. Tell me which part of the letter categorically says, you, Bernard Avle, this is what you have done, or you have permitted your platform to use for this purpose.
Well,
flowing from that, you are reminded that as a journalist, in your very first day in the school of journalism, you are taught that this type of behavior attracts certain consequences. You are reminded of that. Which one is the veiled threat? What is said in that letter that you didn't know as a journalist?
Well, you make demands. For example, in paragraph 15, you use the word "our clients demand above." So
and you will demand again.
Hold on, let me finish. You are saying you are advising me, but a demand is not an advice. Now, in paragraph 14, you say you have your client's instruction to demand, and hereby so do, that as most responsible media institutions now do regarding incendiary and spiteful publications, you immediately pull or cause to be pulled down or cleared from your platform all statements and speeches which convey the following, and then you list them. Now, if you had written this to a specific media house on the basis of a specific publication, this will not be a problem. You've written to all media houses and you are making a demand, and you are telling me that if it affects me, I should accept it. If it doesn't affect me, then I should just let it go. That cannot be right.
That is so. I have written it to all media houses. Bernard Avle, if you are not affected by it, ignore it. Why are you threatened by it?
Because I'm a journalist and you've written it to me, and you are.
Have you written anything insightful? Have you written anything insightful or hateful?
But you haven't defined what is incendiary, hateful, or offensive in your letter.
No, so why are you worried about? Because it's not defined. Well, you don't know what is hateful.
Well, you are the one who's making the claim, so you should explain it to us.
And I'm telling you clearly that reading the context of the letter, from where you started reading, the letter says that utterances and statements are made which suggest that the judges who are deciding cases do not decide it on the basis of law. They decide it on the basis of interest and other considerations outside the context of the law. And those things give the impression that these are not judges who are interested in justice, but are interested in other things. Those things are spiteful.
But why don't you cite an example of a media house that did such a thing, so we would know that this type of publication is what you refer to?
Bernard, this line of questioning doesn't advance anything. If you say why, and I'm saying why should I? Because I'm writing to all of you just generally.
Oh, but
why? Wait, I'm not finished. Bernard.
Okay, go ahead.
I have also written to other institutions specifically, taking to them exactly some of the statements that are coming from them that are objectionable. I have written to those ones specifically. But the context of the letter is so clear that make sure that the comments you are making on the flow from an objective criticism of the judgment based on rules and principles, and inform the public that these justices are not delivering justice according to principles, but according to personal interest and other things. The letter is and even when you try to pick and choose, it still doesn't come out in
Do you not think it would have been more helpful to call out errant media houses in this regard, as the justices did of lawyers they considered had done such things, and use the example of that contempt to advise other lawyers about their further conduct?
Well, that is one way of looking at it. But as a lawyer, I'm not doing media law. I'm not teaching media law on your platforms. What I am doing is to draw your attention to what you learned in your media law.
But once,
so if what you learned in your media law has taught you about statements and speech and publications that bring the administration of justice into disrepute and which interfere with the due administration of justice, that's one you have learned already. And what is desirable is different from saying it is irresponsible, it is ill-advised, it is ill-motivated. That is completely different.
Well, you know, I'm not a lawyer, but if you say a conduct can be seen to interfere...
Look, there's a lot of noise in your background, so it's a little bit difficult to follow some of the things that you are saying.
I am saying that if you say that our conduct or some conduct in the media could interfere with the constitutional order and bring the judiciary into disrepute, do you not suppose that specific examples of that would better serve the media in their further coverage because the case is not over?
That may well be so. It may help. But this hasn't destroyed anything. And I'm saying that for a journalist who has studied media law, who has been told that if you keep telling the public that the decisions of the court are not motivated by legal principles, but by other motives, does it not threaten our democracy? Is the judiciary not a very important arm of this government in order for you to give the impression that it is not doing its work according to law, but according to private interest? What more examples do you want? What better examples do you want than that?
But how do we know that this
so it is okay. It is okay to think that if it were you would have written it in 1 week. But it's a totally different thing also to say that the letter offends some principles of law that are not stated, or some standards that we don't know of.
Well, the Ghana Journalists Association has issued a statement, and they consider the letter you signed on behalf of your client as, quote, a threat to media freedom. In fact, if you permit me, they say, to put it mildly, they are dumbstruck in reading this obnoxious directive pregnant with insidious threats to media freedom in Ghana, which is touted as a land of freedom and justice. With all due respect, this is scandalous. End of quote.
Well, I have the right to use similar words to describe their statement. Throughout their letter, it is very, very general. It completely misinforms the public. The heading of their letter is threat to the media. The heading of my letter is saying it refers to incendiary, hateful, and spiteful comments against the judiciary. How is that a threat to the media? Throughout that statement, they don't pick out one paragraph to say this is the one which threatens us. They don't pick out one paragraph to say this is the one which does not accord with proper democratic principles insofar as free speech is concerned. So as for use of words and saying what everybody wants, we can all do that. I could also say that what they said is irresponsible, it doesn't make sense, and all of that. But unlike them, I would not use such words. I am entitled to disagree with them, but I won't say that of them.
But if you say that if somebody does not do something, your client will take appropriate action to ensure they do not abuse the right to free speech.
Bernard,
is that not
I am not writing. This statement was not issued to the general public. It is issued to media institutions. Bernard, you know as a journalist what the consequences are when you make speeches and statements which bring the administration of justice into disrepute and which interfere with the due administration of justice. I'm writing to people who already know what the business is and how it is supposed to be conducted. So I am not supposed to lecture them on everything. That is not what a lawyer who takes instructions does. It's not his business to be educating people.
But
I'm writing to you and you understand that you keep repeating the same thing.
Yeah, but my question is, what is scandalous to the court is not something we know as ABC. It is really within the bosom of the court.
And no book, all the books in media law that you have read, none of them would specify and say these are the exhaustive list of matters that scandalize the court. There are only instances that they can refer to as having happened in the past. But it is an endless list. And that is why some people say legislate for it and provide for it. But as we speak, it is a common law matter. And it is not required of anybody to say things in this particular manner. How am I supposed to know what words you are going to use in future to describe the justices of the Supreme Court? Is that what you expect me to do?
So for an editor,
tell you in advance what you will be saying in future.
So for an editor like me, you say I have not done anything worthy of fear, so I should not be worried. So what should how should I advise my journalists on the basis of your statement? Are there any specific, because you haven't...
If they are journalists,
hold on.
I have given you so many examples from the statement that you are reading. I don't know what you want me to say. I'm saying if there are journalists who have done media law, they know very well that it is okay to take the decision of the court and say that it is per incuriam a previous decision or a statutory provision, or to say that it does not accord with a particular principle. But if you say that the justices are not doing justice according to law, that is a totally different matter. And this is what we would have learned in media law. It is not possible for you to educate any journalist who hasn't seen a decision yet and who hasn't commented yet, and you don't know what is in his mind as to what you should say and should not say.
Yeah, but your statement is not about just what journalists do. You're also talking about the platform. So you're saying that...
But you don't keep shifting the goalposts. You ask me about what you should tell journalists.
No, yes, but...
So don't say my statement is not about this. If you want to move on to another point, you move on to another point.
Please,
but you ask me about journalists, I answer you then you say it's not about it.
No, don't misconstrue my question. I'm saying you've issued a statement to me. Now, I am in charge of a media house with journalists. People issue statements that we publish, that we don't author ourselves. And your statement implies that. So please don't misconstrue my question.
No, it clearly says that.
Excuse me. Can I ask the question, please? Can I ask the question with all due respect? I am saying that your statement is not just about journalists making publications themselves. It's also about causing to be published statements made by other people. And I'm saying good. And so let me frame the question. Please allow me.
So if you frame it well, I'll answer it.
No, it's not within your bosom to decide what is a well-framed question. You answer it.
You are deciding how my letter should be. How my letter should be written, but I'm not complaining.
Because you've issued a statement to my media house without my media house having done anything to merit any form of threat.
So why is your media house concerned?
Because it is in the public interest to know that the right to exercising of free speech is guaranteed by the judiciary, who is your client, which is why I'm asking you the question.
And the judiciary has said that in the very statement you are reading.
That's why I'm asking you a specific question.
Okay, now I want to get your question.
No, you let me just relax and let me do the interview the way I want to, please. You can't push me.
Thank you.
I'm saying that your statement is very clear. You're saying statements by journalists and statements by other people that media houses publish.
Thank you.
Now, if a journalist who is a gatekeeper of a website sees a particular article from a lawyer, how does he know that this article qualifies to be published on the basis of what you've put out?
And the answer is in the very statement that we are reading, the one that I put out. What I said is that if a statement is issued by a lawyer and criticizes the decision of the court on the basis of legal principles, that is permissible. But if the lawyer says that the decision is rendered because a particular judge who sits there is somebody's friend, or the judge is motivated by factors other than the legal principles on the basis of which the decision is rendered, then that has crossed the line. It is all stated in the statement you are reading.
Now, so what is your comment to the claim by the GJA that this statement ought to be retracted and reversed immediately because it is ill-timed, ill-advised, and ill-crafted?
I've said they are entitled to use words which are very free in the dictionary. but they have not demonstrated in even one word in the whole of that statement which part of it is ill-advised. And they have not even analyzed it. It is clear from the statement that they haven't even read it. So I don't act on their instruction. I could have used similar words, and as I've told you before, to describe their statement. But I won't do that because I don't think that that is how to communicate at a particular level.
Well, I want to just ask you a final couple questions. Now, on the basis of what you've done, are you able to produce a list of errant media houses in this regard?
I've told you that we've written to a few of them already directly.
And asking them to do what?
To retract and pull it down. Pull all offensive statements down. We have already done that. I've said that so many times.
So they are specific, you've pointed out to them specific things they've done?
Absolutely.
So this is like an addendum to the rest of us?
Yes, just a general advice on things that you already know. This is a reminder to you. And I've told you that reading the statement, there are things you have learned in media law already.
You are assuming that every journalist reads media law. That's not correct.
Well, maybe
one does not have to be an expert in media law to practice journalism.
At least the Ghana Journalists Association quoted the code of ethics. At least they will read that one.
Our ethics also say that we should not be intimidated or influenced unduly by anyone. In fact, the Constitution, which your client upholds, also is very clear that there shall be no censorship in media. And to the extent that some people construe your statement as an attempt to censor their coverage of the verdict on Thursday, you should be concerned.
And I'm saying that brilliant as your submission is in your knowledge of the law, insofar as free expression is concerned, the statement has taken that into account and says clearly that the same judiciary affirms and has over and time again affirmed that right, but reminds you that your code of ethics says that you should not cross certain boundaries. That is exactly what the statement says.
Well, your mission statement as a judicial service, or your client's mission statement, also enjoins the judiciary to inform people about what it does so people understand what they do. Do you suppose that your client has fulfilled that mandate before going ahead to criticize how people report his work?
I'm not sure I get your question too well.
The mission statement of the judicial service includes the strengthening of public trust and confidence in the judiciary by deepening the understanding of its functions.
Yes.
And I'm asking you whether you believe your client has done that.
Absolutely.
I
believe my client has done that. And this statement you are reading is one of the ways of deepening it because it restates principles that you and I know should be applicable in the practice of journalism. It is in your code of ethics, and I admire your knowledge of the Constitution which talks about censorship. The letter says nothing about censorship. It is censoring nobody. It is only reminding you of what you shouldn't do and which you already know.
Well, a threat can be construed from the way the meanings people attach to words. So in the same way you say, we shouldn't put... people are free to construe your statement based on the understanding of the simple English. And English is not...
I haven't denied them that.
Good. So just for the avoidance of doubt and for calmness, nobody should feel threatened by your statement. Is that what I should take from this interview?
At all. And the letter is very, very clear that avoid insightful statements. Avoid hateful statements. Avoid statements that suggest that judges are not doing their work according to law. That is all that the letter says. And I'm giving you the opportunity before I leave to point out which part this doesn't say what I am saying in plain and simple English. And if I say that if you publish hateful things, pull them down, shouldn't any responsible institution do that?
Well, that's if we all know what is hateful, incendiary, and offensive based on the case going on.
And I told you that the statement has put it in context. That any suggestion that the judges are not doing justice according to law, already these people affirm that the judges are not serving their interests, for which reason they are not deserving of their respect. I have given you all of that background.
But that's just one example.
But so as you keep saying, am I required to give as many? Tell me the standard or the number of examples a person is required to give in such a statement. I have put it in general context. I'm not writing a book. I am sending a message simply out there, and I put it in a particular context that avoid generally certain type of statements.
Okay, there's a concern that a portion of your statement was disrespectful of Ghanaians, where you suggested that because people are largely, members of the public are largely uneducated, the publications can provide a foundation for lawlessness and lead to lack of competent judicial service.
I will tell you that statement was lifted from a case law decision which made that observation, and it is particularly applicable in our society because remember that a number of your media institutions also communicate in languages other than in English, and so if you communicate in other languages because you want to reach out to others who do not speak English, you must be careful that you do not communicate and give them the impression that this is what the judiciary is about. So I have lifted it from a decision of a previous decision. So it's not as if I just flung it out there. And the person who says that, why is he saying that? Is it not true that a lot of Ghanaians are not educated? What is disrespectful about that? And those are the type of reactions I am concerned about because they just say things. They don't establish any argument or basis for saying that. A lot of Ghanaians not really uneducated.
But to the extent that the case is live on television through, of course, the discretion of the court and everybody can follow it, do we not have confidence that the average Ghanaian can understand what is going on irrespective of what interviews people grant afterwards? We can all see.
If that is the case, why are you even allowing interviews to be granted? Everybody should just shut up because we are all watching it. When you watch it, let's go away with our impression. But when you start giving people interviews and they start giving it twists and distortions that do not reflect the judicial system, that's a different matter. So if you thought that it was sufficient to air it and everybody watch it or listen to it, then let's all go home afterwards. Or let's just relax afterwards. But if you allow people who have watched it with others to say, no, what you are watching is not actually real. The judges are doing it because of factors that you didn't see.
Should people not analyze or criticize the decisions?
And you see, Bernard, you keep going back to what I told you. I said, criticize is based on legal principles. But if a criticism means that, Bernard, I'm saying that you are debating me and not literally asking me questions because you have been paid to do it. If I said that to you, would you be happy?
Well, my viewers have enough knowledge about me not to believe that.
Well, that is what you are saying. Because at the moment, you are on the spot. But are you saying that when people say this of judges, we should assume that everybody has knowledge of each of the justices sitting down there, and so we should ignore it? Is that your suggestion, and is that what the media law, I'm sure you learned because you are lecturing me on the Constitution here, is that what they told you?
Well, some people think that when the judiciary feels they shouldn't be criticized. This is why they've issued.
That is their thinking, and the letter and the statement you are reading admits that they should be criticized. It said it in so many words there that they should criticize them, but do not criticize them based outside the rules of criticism. That is all that it says. It is said that in so many words.
So also there are rules of criticism.
Of course. And the statement says it clearly. Bernard, I've repeated myself on this matter.
Well, no, we are just trying to get understand because, again, people like Kwesi Prempeh have said the best way for us to uphold the confidence in the judiciary is the way the judiciary itself behaves, not what anybody else says about it. What do you say?
But that is Kwesi Prempeh's view. That's Kwesi Prempeh's view.
Yes.
But does that represent the law? If what he said represented the law, then we would not have the principle that You will not make statements that bring the administration of justice into disrepute or interfere with the due administration of justice. So he's entitled to his view, and we may take that into account going forward. But that is not the position of the law.
So what is interference in the delivery of justice?
If you threaten a judge, like on some media platforms that we have read, that they will see what will happen. If you said that to a judge, you are frightening the judge and inspiring fear into him, such that the person is threatened. That look, the way these people are talking, they can harm me. Remember that these people these judges are human beings who live with us. They have friends, they have relatives who can be harmed because people are not able even to directly access them.
But people have threatened judges before and they face the full rigors of the law. In fact, some people were jailed for doing that.
In fact, some people, and before they could face the full rigors of the law, some judges were irremediably harmed. It's also happened before.
All right, thank you for talking to us. That was...
No, thank you for debating me.
No, I didn't intend it to be a debate.
I'm just joking. It's fine.
Yeah, but as you know, I cannot be neutral in a matter which affects the profession that I'm proud to be part of. So if I came across as debating you, that's
fine. It's okay because we are all advancing. We are advancing the same course, so it's fine.
Thank you for talking to us, Counsel.
You're welcome. Okay, bye-bye.
That was Thaddeus Sory, who is a lawyer for the Judicial Service, issuing a 17-paragraph statement. I was hoping to get Afel Money on the interview line whilst the interview was going on, so we could get his comments. We'll take a short break and be right back. Stay with us.
Good Day Energy Drink keeps you going. Available in major supermarkets and shops near you. Excessive drinking can be detrimental to your health. Not recommended for persons under 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and people sensitive to caffeine. This advert is FDA approved.
You start off the year by stepping up with DSTV.
Things are about to get great.
Whoa, okay.
And that's important because
DSTV, they come give you more of the entertainment you and your family they like. So fasten your seatbelt. As DSTV take you go higher with more epic live soccer, exciting local drama, and best kids show.
That's a lot. Cool.
My people, all you for do be say, starting from 14th January to 31st March, upgrade your current DSTV package to the next one, and DSTV will bump you up to the one above that at no extra cost. It be that simple.
What?
Come on.
Oh, exciting. Okay.
For example, let's say you have family. All you have to do is pay for Compact, and DSTV will give you Compact Plus at no extra cost.
This is a lot.
Yeah.
Follow us with the hashtag DSTV Step Up for more, or call us on 0302 740 540. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. This is still the point of view. That was Thaddeus Sory. He's the managing partner of Sory at Law, speaking to me on a statement he issued on behalf of the Judicial Service in relation to how we cover the election petition. And stay with us. We'll be live at the Supreme Court on Thursday, bringing you everything you need to know. We'll cover it fairly and professionally, as we always do. Now, let's spend the last few minutes discussing what's also a breaking story. We're hearing that the minority side of the Appointments Committee will not or may not pass some of the nominees. In fact, we're told that 3 of them outrightly will be rejected. Another 5 are pending. And we're told this is on the basis of a NEC meeting from the NDC. Let me just read quickly what the story about the NEC meeting is. Then I'll bring Duke Mensah Opoku who is our parliamentary correspondent, to give us some insights into this. So the story says, don't accept insincere apologies from nominees, NDC, to members on the vetting committee. And it says, the National Executive Committee of the NDC is urging its members of parliament in the appointments committee to reject, quote, insincere apologies of some ministerial nominees who have appeared before the committee for vetting. NEC, in a statement, said its MPs must be firm and resolute in their contributions to the committee and ensure that such nominees are held responsible for their statements. The party gave the order in a statement issued after an emergency meeting held in Accra today, Monday, the 1st of March. We know that over 30 nominees have been vetted already, and we understand that the committee, for the first time, is split right down the middle, 13 majority, 13 minority, with the chair, Joe Osewusu. Duke Mensopoku is joining us. Good evening. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Bernard.
What is going on with the appointments committee?
Well, we anticipated this. This is the first ever committee that's so tight when it comes to numbers. So we've never had a committee like this. And what every single vote on that committee now counts. Unlike on previous occasions, and previous times when, the majority could still run roughshod with its numbers. But now every single vote counts. And that's what is playing out now.
So we've seen what the NEC of NDC has said.
Yeah.
Can I construe this to mean that the appointments committee, at least the minority, this is what they are going to do?
Yes. And they've actually done that. They cast their ballot today on about 30 of the nominees that have already vetted. And they voted against 3 of them. Outright rejected.
The 13 minority MPs
voted against 3 of them. And there are 5 of the nominees that they've asked for further and better particulars. Some of them, they are even calling for them to be revetted. To clarify certain issues, certain specific issues. For 5 of them, there are certain specific issues that they want clarified. But for 3 of them, they've made up their minds and voted them outright, rejected them.
So there are 13 members of the NDC.
NDC
How many MPP?
13.
Does this include the chairman?
Including the chairman.
Does the chairman
have a vote?
vote?
He doesn't have a casting vote. He has a vote, but he doesn't have a casting vote.
So presumably, if all MPs vote yes, and NDC vote yes,
it will be
it's a
13-13.
But what does the law say?
The law says that Order 172.8 of the Standing Order says that a nominee must garner more than half of votes of all members of the committee. More than half.
Not just half.
Not just half. More than half. So at least you need 14 out of 26 to pass.
Who are the 3 who the NDC side said no to?
Mavis Hakumsin, Minister Designate for Fisheries. According to the members of the minority, she is not fit for the role. She's incompetent based on the vetting that unfolded in Parliament. The second person is Minister Designate for Information, Kojo Nkrumah. They said he was insincere, and then apart from that also, he incited the contempt charges, was part of the who incited the contempt charge that was brought against one of the NDC members of Parliament and one of the lawyers for the John Mahama side in the ongoing election petitioners, Dr. Dominic Ayine. And for Dr. Also, the charge is that he assumed a certain arrogant posturing before the committee when he was being vetted a couple of days ago. Wow. So these are the people that they voted outright. So
these 3, Meva Akumsin for Fisheries, Kojo Nkrumah for Information, and
Akoto for Food and Agriculture.
So for the 3, what's going to happen? Usually the committee presents a report to the plenary.
So the report will be presented to the plenary, and then they would have to vote.
The plenary will vote again?
Yes, we'll have to vote again.
On the
committee's report.
And what's the constitution of Parliament in terms of the
137, 138, 138 by virtue of second deputy speaker deciding to vote for the majority.
So if all of them vote. And the independent candidate votes. Then we expect the majority to push
win
it
by a vote of 1.
So even though the minority on the committee have failed to pass the 3, if it goes to the floor,
it will still have to go to a vote. That's if the minority decides to push for a division, which is for voting. Otherwise, they may decide to do it by voice vote, which is how the Ayariga motion recently was decided by voice vote, not by voting. So if after debating the issues on the floor, the speaker can decide to take a voice vote, or the minority will say that this issue, we want division, so let's vote, and then they'll vote.
And we don't know if what happened on January 7th.
It is a possibility. If it happens, it means that the president will have to nominate new people.
What about the 5? Who are the other 5?
The 5, Attorney General and Minister of Justice designate, Godfrey Adame, over some of the answers he gave with regards to Ejapadi. They have issues with that. Then there is communications and digitalization.
Who's a member of the committee?
Who's a member of the committee over the shutdown, the closure of some radio stations. Then there is Kwesi Amakwata routes over the recent motorway project that has been given out. The other two, Health Minister Kwekwajima Menu over frontiers and other issues with regards to the pandemic management. And the last person is actually John Peter Amewu, PDS.
Which is why they talk about the apologies as well,
yes,
because there were questions around that.
Yeah, so these are the 5.
So for these 5, what is the NDC saying?
They need more, further information.
So they maybe reverse them or ask them to come back. Or
decide that based on the information, that additional information that they've been given, they may decide to agree to pass them or decide that they should.
And Parliament is resuming tomorrow.
Yeah,
so will the report be presented tomorrow?
Based on the voting that has been done, I'm sure with the 22 that have been passed without any issues, they may just, lay the reports, read them out, debate will take place, and then they will be approved
then
by
the
consensus.
3...
Then the 3 will be fireworks, debate, and then either by voice vote or if the minority calls for division.
And these 3 who happen to be MPs, 2 of them, can they vote in a matter that concerns them?
Yes, they can vote.
They will not be deprived of the voting.
No, they will vote.
So in the case of Esla Usu Ekufu, who is a member of the committee, presumably she voted as well?
No.
She did not vote?
Once you're a member of the committee and a decision is being taken...
So within the committee, she did not vote?
Yeah, but on the floor, she will have a vote.
So we should expect more fireworks?
Yes, obviously.
Wow.
Because they've now begun with the regional ministers. Today, 3 of them were vetted. It will go on up until Monday. I don't know how the committee is going to manage that, because Monday is going to be a public holiday because State March falls on Saturday. So that's when the vetting of the finance minister is scheduled, Monday, 8th of March. I don't know.
So they may have to reschedule that, we don't know.
Yeah, so that
and then
will happen.
When the regional ministers are done, has there been any list of deputy ministers?
Not yet. We've not, and usually it will take quite a longer time, because usually sometimes consults the substantive ministers on who should be their deputy ministers. Sometimes we are told that happens. So they will have to be confirmed, and then some consultations will go on before the deputy ministerial list is out.
Your plate is full.
Very full.
Amazing.
From tomorrow.
Keep up a good work. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Duke Mensa Opoku is City TV and City FM's parliamentary correspondent. Very interesting time. So 3 ministers designate have failed to get the more than 50% required because the minority on the committee said they would not pass. Kojo Oponkroma, Information Minister, maybe Sawa Kumsin, Fisheries Minister designate, same refers to Oponkroma, of course, and then Dr. Owusu-Efriye Akoto, who is also the nominee for Agriculture. It's going to be very eventful. We'll be covering live in Parliament what happens as they reconvene tomorrow. Now, earlier on, I spoke to Suleiman Brima, who is the Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, and then I spoke to lawyer Thaddeus Sory on the statement the Judiciary or the Judicial Service issued on the way we cover the petition. Of course, Duke Mensa Opoku, as ever, parliamentary correspondent. My name is Bernard Avle. Thank you for watching tonight's edition. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.